The first alien ships appeared over Earth's skies at dawn.
They came without subtlety, enormous vessels, each a floating continent of black metal, blotting out the sun as they descended through the upper atmosphere.
Their hulls shimmered with the artificial energy fields of a civilization far older than humanity's. The broadcasts began almost immediately.
A single voice, cold and sharp, echoed across every frequency.
People of Earth. We are the Vreeth Dominion. You will kneel.
You will serve.
Resistance is irrelevant.
The arrogance in that voice was almost tangible.
They didn't ask. They commanded. Governments scrambled.
Fighter jets were launched, ground batteries armed, but they were toys compared to the Dominion's fleet. In the first hours, several major cities were targeted. New York, Shanghai, and Nairobi saw flashes of white fire that turned steel and stone to dust. It looked like Earth would be crushed in days.
That's exactly what the Vreeth wanted the galaxy to see.
General Ilara Miles stood in the underground command center beneath Nevada, watching the tactical displays. The Vreeth had brought 300 capital ships, thousands of escorts, and planetary assault carriers. Against them, Earth seemed to have a handful of old orbital defense stations and a scattered fleet of human-made ships that wouldn't last an hour in open battle.
And yet, Ilara wasn't panicking. The enemy didn't know the truth.
For 2 centuries, humanity had been preparing for the day when someone would try this. Officially, Earth's space program was limited, defensive, struggling to keep pace with its neighbors. Unofficially, there were fleets hidden beyond the edges of charted space.
Bases buried beneath moons and asteroids.
Weapons that had never been shown to another species. Most importantly, there was the Silent Accord.
While the Vreeth poured troops into key Earth cities, Ilara gave a single command.
Activate all Silent Accord fleets.
Code Black.
Across the darkness of space, far beyond the reach of Earth's normal patrols, things began to move. On the icy surface of Triton, hangars that had been sealed for decades split open, revealing sleek, angular warships painted in the matte black of deep space stealth. In the Kuiper Belt, massive structures disguised as mining stations shed their camouflage and revealed long-range kinetic artillery rail cannons capable of hurling city-killer slugs at a fraction of light speed.
Humanity had never been defenseless. Humanity had been waiting. The Vreeth's first real hint that something was wrong came 12 hours after their arrival.
One of their outer patrol fleets, 40 ships strong, simply vanished from their tactical net. No distress calls, no debris, nothing. A few hours later, another fleet disappeared near Mars. They thought it was sabotage from within Earth.
They didn't yet realize that their predator had just become the prey. By the second day, the Silent Accord fleets began their counterattack in earnest.
From the shadow of Neptune, the carrier Resolute Dawn launched swarms of drone fighters, tiny, fast, and invisible to most Vreeth sensors. They slipped through gaps in the Dominion's formation and tore into unshielded sections of their capital ships, targeting reactor cores with surgical precision. Each kill was silent in the vacuum of space, but to the Vreeth it was deafening. In one sector, 30 human ships faced 100 Vreeth vessels, and the humans didn't lose a single one. The secret wasn't just technology. It was tactics, strategies honed in hundreds of hidden war games, commanders who had trained their entire lives for this single event. The Vreeth had fought countless wars, but they had never fought us.
On the third day, Earth's forces made their boldest move.
They let the Vreeth think they had broken through to the planet's core defenses. The alien fleet massed in low orbit, preparing to bombard the last human military installations.
That's when the trap closed. From the far side of the moon, enormous shapes emerged, Titan-class warships, each one a moving fortress kilometers long. These ships had never been seen by any alien species.
Their hulls bristled with rail cannons, missile batteries, and something the Vreeth didn't even have a name for, gravlances, weapons that could tear holes in space itself.
The Titans fired in unison.
In seconds, the Vreeth formation was shredded. Ships the size of skyscrapers folded in on themselves, vanishing into distorted space. Others were torn apart by hypervelocity rounds before they could even maneuver.
The Vreeth commander, Admiral Vralith, tried to order a retreat.
He never got the chance. His flagship was split in two by a gravlance strike that left nothing but molten fragments drifting in orbit. By day 5, the invasion was over. Not because the humans had destroyed every ship, though they could have, but because the remaining Dominion vessels had fled in blind terror, broadcasting frantic warnings to every corner of the galaxy. They spoke of weapons no one had ever seen.
Of fleets that moved without detection. Of humans who fought with a precision and ferocity unmatched by any known race. The Vreeth Dominion had underestimated Earth. They had made the last mistake they ever would. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy trembled. Worlds that had quietly accepted Vreeth rule for generations began to whisper about rebellion. The story spread faster than light. Earth was not only free, it had struck down one of the galaxy's oldest empires in less than a week. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of known space, the Silent Accord fleets returned to their hidden posts, waiting for the next challenger. Because one truth had been proven beyond doubt. Humanity was patient. Humanity was dangerous. And now, the galaxy knew. The alien fleet appeared without warning. One moment, Earth's orbital satellites showed clear skies and empty space. The next, the heavens were filled with vast, angular silhouettes, the warships of the Coalition of Nine, a union of alien empires united under one belief: humanity was dangerous and must be brought to heel. They came not as conquerors seeking territory, but as executioners carrying out a sentence. Within hours, their message echoed across every broadcast network. This planet has violated the galactic order. It will be subdued. The population will be processed. Resistance will be met with eradication. There was no negotiation. No diplomacy. Just the cold efficiency of predators who believed the hunt was already over. The first attacks were swift and merciless. Energy beams carved through Earth's orbital defenses. Kinetic strikes from orbit flattened military bases before human fighters could even scramble. Yet, strangely, some targets were left untouched. Coalition troops landed in certain regions, but met only token resistance. City after city was taken without major battle. They expected desperate last stands, human forces fighting to the death, but instead, Earth's military pulled back in strange, deliberate patterns. General Soraya Khan, Supreme Commander of Earth's defense network, sat in a reinforced bunker beneath the ruins of Old Berlin. Around her, tactical maps lit up with red zones marking alien control. Her aides were tense. Some whispered that humanity was losing. Soraya knew better. 2 centuries earlier, humanity had made a grim decision: they would never fight a war for only the present. Every defense, every weapon, every hidden contingency was designed not only to win, but to ensure that if they were ever invaded, the invaders would leave carrying something far worse than they came with. It was called Operation Emberfall. The plan was simple in theory, terrifying in execution. Allow an enemy to occupy key territories, capture infrastructure, and seize resources. Then, let them take the gift. In the humid jungles of the Amazon basin, coalition engineers set up extraction plants, harvesting Earth's minerals and water for shipment to their fleets. What they didn't realize was that the very soil they stood on had been seeded decades ago with microscopic spores dormant, harmless to humans, but lethal to certain alien physiologies. Not a quick death. No, Emberfall was subtler than that. The spores would bond with alien immune systems, lying dormant as the infected returned to their home fleets and colonies. Weeks later, the spores would activate, not killing outright but weakening, disorienting, and driving paranoia through entire command chains. The coalition thought they were stripping Earth for profit. They were, in fact, carrying Earth's vengeance into the heart of their own empire. For the first week, the coalition war effort was unstoppable. Major human cities fell, and orbital control seemed total. But by the second week, strange reports began filtering through alien channels. A destroyer near Sirius reported its crew refusing orders, claiming their commanders had been replaced. Another fleet lost half its officers to sudden, crippling fevers. In 3 separate sectors, coalition ships opened fire on each other. General Soraya's analysts monitored these developments with grim satisfaction. The spores were working faster than expected. The coalition leadership tried to keep the truth contained. They blamed human sabotage and infiltration agents. But suspicion spread like wildfire. Alien captains began distrusting their own crews, their allies, even their admirals. That's when the real resistance began.
Human strike teams, which had been quietly hiding in occupied cities, suddenly launched precision attacks not to reclaim territory, but to push infected aliens into escape ships and send them back to their fleets. Every skirmish was designed to maximize the spread.
The coalition thought humanity was fighting to defend itself. In reality, Earth was fighting to infect the galaxy.
By the third week, the invasion had stalled completely.
Coalition warships in orbit stopped coordinating. Supply lines broke down.
Some commanders withdrew entirely, retreating to their home systems to deal with internal instability. On the 23rd day of the invasion, an entire coalition battle group surrendered to human forces without a shot fired. Their commander, a six-eyed Jacqueline named Vorith, demanded only one thing: medical help for his crew, who were suffering hallucinations and violent distrust.
Soraya granted him treatment, or rather, a fake treatment, and released him back into space. Another carrier of the gift. When the Coalition Council finally convened to discuss the disaster, half its members were already infected. What was supposed to be a unified military meeting descended into chaos. Accusations of treachery flew. 2 council members drew sidearms. A firefight erupted in the chamber itself, broadcast accidentally across the entire coalition network. Within hours, dozens of worlds declared independence, seceding from the coalition.
Civil wars broke out in 4 sectors.
Trade collapsed. Pirate factions emerged overnight.
All because they had tried to take Earth.
Back on the planet's surface, General Soraya stood before the United Earth Assembly.
The skies were finally clear, the last coalition warship had fled.
An aide asked her quietly, "What if they find a cure?" Soraya's expression was calm. "They might. But by then, the damage will be permanent. Trust is the rarest commodity in the galaxy, and they'll never have it again."
She stepped up to the podium, addressing not just Earth, but every listening world across the stars.
"We did not seek this war. But if you bring war to Earth, we will make sure it follows you home. We will give you a gift you can never return. Remember this, and remember the fate of the Coalition of 9. The galaxy remembered. Even years later, alien captains would whisper warnings to their crews before a risky engagement: never invade Earth.
The coalition's vast empire had shattered into feuding warlords and rogue states. And somewhere, deep in the sealed vaults beneath Old Berlin, the spore cultures of Operation Emberfall were kept safe, waiting for the next invader foolish enough to step on human soil.
Humanity didn't need to conquer the galaxy. They only needed to make the galaxy fear them. The alien armada came like a tidal wave across the night sky. Massive carriers, their hulls lit with cold blue lights, descended toward the planet in perfect formation. Energy lances stabbed downward, obliterating defense satellites and burning through orbital stations. Earth's air forces scrambled, but their weapons were fireflies against a hurricane.
In the cities, people looked up to see the sky split by descending warships, each the size of mountains. The Zereth Empire had come conquerors of 1,000 worlds, their banners stretching across half the galaxy. They sent a message that pulsed across every screen, every device, every frequency. Earth will kneel. Refuse, and you will be ashes. It was not the first time the Zereth had spoken those words to a world. It had always ended the same way. In the United Earth Command bunker beneath Geneva, the air was thick with smoke and desperation. Commanders barked orders over static-filled comms, trying to hold together a defense that was collapsing by the minute. General Marcus Hale slammed a fist onto the holotable. "We can't hold them. Not like this." No one argued. Every fleet they had thrown into battle was shattered. The Zereth had hundreds more ships, each one able to outgun an entire human task force. It was then that Dr. Elena Voss, a quiet, silver-haired astrophysicist who'd been working in the background, stepped forward. "There's one thing we haven't tried," she said. Elena explained in measured tones. Earth had a signal. Not a human creation, but something ancient, buried deep in the planet's crust. They had first detected fragments of it decades ago, too faint to decipher, pulsing at intervals like a heartbeat. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense.
It was a song.
Legends whispered among Earth's oldest civilizations spoke of the Sky Choir and the Guardians of the Deep Void.
Some dismissed it as myth. Elena had spent her life proving it was real.
She believed that the song was a summons, a call to an ancient fleet that had once defended Earth, perhaps in an age before recorded history. And now, with the Zirith closing in, it was time to sing again. The signal array on the far side of the moon, hidden for decades, came alive with power. Great dishes rotated, locking onto deep space coordinates older than humanity's star maps. Elena's voice wavered as she spoke the final command.
Broadcast the full sequence.
From the moon's shadow, the song of Earth was cast into the void, a haunting, rising melody encoded in impossible harmonics, carrying a resonance that seemed to bend the very fabric of space.
For 3 days, nothing happened. The Zirith tightened their grip, pressing into Earth's atmosphere. Cities burned. Fleets crumbled.
Every hour, their commander broadcast the same demand: surrender or die. And then, on the dawn of the 4th day, the sky changed. It began as a deep vibration, felt in bones more than heard. The air trembled, the oceans rippled.
Stars themselves seemed to shift.
From the edge of the solar system, shadows emerged. Not ships in the conventional sense, but vast constructs of black and silver, each shaped like the petal of an enormous flower, moving with silent, impossible grace.
There were hundreds. No engines, no visible weapons, yet every Zirith sensor screamed warnings of catastrophic danger. The alien fleet stopped advancing. The Zirith flagship sent out cautious hails, demanding to know the identity of the newcomers. No answer came, only the song, now deafening, echoing from every piece of Zirith equipment, from their ships, their columns, even their own translation systems. Then, without warning, the ancient fleet moved. It was not a battle. It was an execution.
Blades of light cut through Zirith warships, slicing them clean in half without explosions, just silent disintegration, ships falling apart like sand in the wind.
Others were pulled into sudden wells of warped gravity, crushed into nothing in seconds. The Zirith fired everything they had. Nothing touched the ancient ships. Their attacks passed through as if striking reflections in water. The ancient fleet did not miss. In less than an hour, the Zirith invasion force was reduced to drifting debris. When the last enemy ship fell silent, one of the ancient vessels descended toward Earth.
It did not land, but hovered high above the clouds, its surface shimmering with shifting patterns of light.
A voice, or something like one, filled every mind on the planet. Children of Earth. We are the choir eternal. Long have we slept. Your song has reached us once more. This world is under our watch.
Marcus Hale stood frozen, all written across his face.
They're ours? Elena's eyes were wet.
We're theirs. The Zirith Empire's retreat was not quiet. Across the galaxy, their surviving ships fled to their home territories, bringing tales of the nightmare that awaited those who touched Earth. The story spread faster than any fleet, of a sleeping fleet older than empires, loyal only to humanity, summoned by a song no other race could sing. Worlds long oppressed by the Zirith began to stir, emboldened by the Empire's humiliation.
Rebellions flared in the outer systems.
The galaxy had seen wars before, but now, they had seen Earth sing. Weeks later, the choir eternal still lingered in orbit, silent and watchful. Elena spent her days studying them, deciphering the fragments of their language encoded in the song. What she found suggested that Earth had once been part of a greater alliance, a civilization so old its ruins were now the mountains and oceans themselves.
One evening, standing on the balcony of the Geneva bunker, Marcus asked her quietly, "Will they always come if we call?" Elena didn't hesitate. Yes.
But the song must be sung in need, not ambition. They are guardians, not conquerors. Marcus looked up at the strange, petal-shaped silhouettes against the stars.
Then let's hope the galaxy remembers that. The galaxy did remember. For generations afterward, there was a saying whispered in the dark halls of alien war councils. You can take 1,000 worlds. You can take 1,000,000 suns. But never take Earth, for it will sing, and the choir will answer. And so the Song of Earth became legend once more, not just in human history, but in the fear and reverence of the stars.